many years ago dancing with my daughter. Really? Yeah.
Need to file a complaint.
Start her first day out, right?
What's that called? Plausible deniability? Yeah. 1 second. I've got 3. Okay. All right. Are you, Karen, are you host? All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Tuesday, May the 25th agenda session. Our last session on Zoom as a hybrid. I now call this meeting to order. Could I have a motion on the minutes, please? Did I hear a second? Okay. I have a motion on the floor with a proper second with no objections. The minutes will stand as recorded. Ordinances on final reading this afternoon. We have one under finance. Any questions or comments? No need to read this into the record as it's second reading. Questions, comments on final reading? All right, very well. Moving to ordinances first reading. All of these public works and transportation, well, actually one, we covered in committee last week. Councilwoman, anything that we need to know or add? This is your alley abandonment. Hit your light, please. There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
No, not anything to add. We'll just be using the alternative version.
Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, would you let Nicole know that we will be reading the alternate version under 6A this afternoon? Thank you. Moving to resolutions, Madam Clerk, 7A, please.
A resolution authorizing payment to the Southeast Tennessee Development District for 2021 assessment dues in the amount of $35,211.54, and the Regional Tourism Initiative in the amount of $5,000 for an amount not to exceed $40,211.54.
Any questions or comments? Moving now to Public Works and Transportation. Again, all of these items were covered last week. B through G was covered in committee last week. Are there any questions or comments on any of the Public Works or transportation items? I'm seeing no hands. Council, if you would pull out your purchase items this afternoon. Any questions or comments regarding any of the purchase items for this afternoon? And there are several. It looks like we do have one emergency purchase that we need to report as well. I'm seeing no hands at this time. If we do need to go back, if you discover something, we can. Council, if you would now pull out your June 1st agenda. Anything on your June 1st agenda that we need to talk about? Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you. If you will look at council office under resolutions, A7 resolutions A, the resolution itself, words is perfect. That's using UTC for professional education services and research. However, the letter behind it needed some massaging. So I will be making a motion, an amendment the original letter said training. We never asked for training. So training will be changed to research and education.
Okay,
And the original letter said 3 months. Somehow on here, it got changed to 12 months, which is what we asked for. So it's not particularly this resolution. It's the backup material. It looks like we're gonna correct.
okay.
How would you like that handled?
We
We don't
can-
need a motion to change backup material, but I thought for the city attorney's office, they may want that change. I can just see that the city attorney gets it.
Are you good with that, Madam Attorney?
I am.
And welcome, welcome to the desk up here
Thank you,
today.
Chairman. Is this on? As to the date, I believe that was just a simple typo.
Yes.
Correct. And for the language, so long as the substance of the contract is the same. I think-
Substantively, it's good, ma'am. I just, here
We
are
can
the
make-
corrections.
Thank you.
Okay, then we're good.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, there's really no amendment needed. We'll
No.
just correct the backup document. Okay,
Thank you.
Councilwoman Hill.
Thank you, Chair. I have questions about 7B and C. I tried to get some answers to this previously, but just haven't yet.
Under human resource?
Under human resources, yes. Both of these resolutions are related to a special police officer unarmed. And I would like some clarification on the why, the how of this, why we need to be voting on this, all of it related to special police officer to be named as the executive director for the Air Pollution Control Bureau. And then a special police officer to be a historic preservation planner.
Okay, I'm not,
Well, that's within the document. If you click the link.
oh,
the
okay.
job
Okay.
that the individual is going to be doing within the Department of Economic and Community Development Land Development Office.
Okay.
The
okay.
special duty is historic preservation planner. And what I'd like to understand is, are we voting on this because these people are special police officers? Were they sworn officers and now they're doing this job? Is this related to pension board? Just help me understand, Brent.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief, you want to take that one?
Yes, sir. I'll take the first one first. So Ronald Drumeller as Special Police Officer for Air Pollution Control Board. He is the director of the Air Pollution Control Board. And in our code, we provide special policing powers to people for code enforcement responsibilities. So it's a non-sworn policing power. And essentially what it means is we are providing them authority under our city codes for them to enforce codes. So he would be enforcing the air pollution control codes that are under the purview of his authority. The second one in the land development office, all of our code enforcement employees have unarmed policing powers to enforce the code.
Okay, that is really helpful. Thank you very much.
It's the police part makes it somewhat, confusing if you haven't seen it, because has nothing to do with sworn police. It's really just the authority to have the powers to enforce code.
You good, Councilwoman? Okay. All right. Any other questions regarding our June 1st agenda? All right. I'm seeing no hands at this time. Council, if you would look at your future considerations. And you will have the date on each item as to when we can expect it on the agenda. Any questions regarding any of the future considerations? Councilwoman Hill.
I just want to point out to my colleagues that in the public works section, that there is some additional contract information about Class B biosolids, and I am planning a tour of the wastewater treatment plant, and we'll know, I believe that it may be by June 8th. So I will know a great deal about our biosolids by then. And I
Would you
welcome
like to come back and give us a report?
Oh, y'all, give me a laser pointer and watch out. I've asked Councilwoman Dotley and she has said, no, she is not interested in learning about biosolids. But please know that I think the more the merrier on this trip. There may be hard hats. I don't know.
We can bring samples too, if you all would like.
All right, let's bring this back to order. Anything else under future considerations that we need to bring to our attention? If not, is there any proposed legislation that any council person needs to bring? Is that a cell phone? Okay. Let's make sure we have all of our cell phones silenced, please. Any proposed legislation that needs to come before the council from any council person at this time? Okay, I'm not aware of any and not seeing any hands. We do have a departmental report this afternoon under ECD reporting on the Iron Man event, which we were able to host this year. Mr. Freeman, would you like to come and enlighten us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this information was provided to us by Tim Morgan of the Chattanooga Tourism Company. And I also had some additional assistance from Brooke Satterfield in the mayor's office, who is our director of policy planning and implementation. We had a great Ironman event this year. It was held this weekend. It was the Ironman 70.3. So this is the half Ironman. So just as a reminder, our city has for the past several years hosted both the half Ironman and the full Ironman. The half is hosted in May, the full is hosted in September. Unfortunately, in 2020, we were not able to host either the half or the full because of COVID-19. And so this year we saw a more dialed back version of the half. So we didn't necessarily have all of the pomp and the circumstance and all of the sort of preliminary events that we would normally have that are associated with an Ironman event. However, we had a great event. It was very hot. I was out there. Councilman Ledford was out there, so it was good to see people. But we still had no, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. But we still had over 2,200 athletes that competed. We also had over 2,500 spectators. And it's also just helpful to know that the Ironman events also bring a tremendous number of volunteers. And there's lots of volunteer activity that happens in the course of an Ironman event. And so in addition to that, one of the things to know is that the Ironman Foundation also gives grants to volunteer groups that help to volunteer during the Ironman event and during the Ironman festivities. Typically, I think this year, the Ironman Foundation will give out close to $15,000 in grants to local organizations that participate and volunteer. As all of you know, with any special event in our city, it takes a number of volunteers to make those events happen and to pull those events off. And so Ironman is no exception to that. But it was a great experience. So just remember, for those of you who are thinking about competing in the future, the swim is a whopping 1.2 miles. The run is 13 miles, 13.1 miles. So it is essentially a half marathon. And then the bike ride is 56 miles. So please, I'm sure that all of you will be thinking about how you are going to gear up and participate in our next Ironman, and make our city proud. But with that, I will try to answer any questions that you have. Tim is happy to come to do a much more deeper dive on the economic impact in a couple of months after the Chattanooga Tourism Company has had a chance to evaluate all of the economic data and to get all of the receipts back from the hotels. As of right now, we think that there was about a $4 million impact to the city, with an average, I believe it was an average of 3 nights that people spent in hotels over the course of the weekend for Ironman, with most people checking in on Thursdays and then leaving on Sundays. So, and it was a good time. So, any questions?
All right, we do have one hand, Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. just kind of piggyback on Jermaine's presentation. It was amazing to see folks coming from, and I'm just going from the folks that I talked to, which was probably about 100 families. We spent the day over the weekend, Saturday, mostly Sunday, walking, talking to different families from California, Alaska, Maine, Florida, Texas, New York, North Carolina, South Carolina, Washington, Kansas, North Dakota was one of the ones that I found was very interesting, talking with the folks from North Dakota. Boy, they love the South. They couldn't wait to stay a few extra days. But we found out that this city knows how to do Ironman. And I think that's because of the leadership we've had doing Ironman. And I'm looking down at Brooke because I know she's had a big hand on that in the past. And the folks who come here, especially the folks we talked to from Atlanta and South Carolina, was a group of 3 gentlemen who decided about a year ago. So if you think you have to be a super athlete, you don't really have to be a super athlete. These guys were pretty good in shape. They only been training about 6 months, and their wives were there cheering them on. And they told me and my wife, Kelly, that they absolutely adore coming to this city and participating in Ironman. And there is no better place in the entire country when this is held all over that they love better than coming to Chattanooga. So we know how to do it. We know how to do it right. I'm excited about it. It's coming back in September. And I do want to throw a challenge out. You don't have to do every part of the half Ironman. You can relay this. I didn't know this until this weekend. So I'm up for the 56-mile bike ride if I can get a runner and a swimmer. So I'm just throwing that challenge out there to anybody in the city. I got the bike ride part, but so there is opportunities for you to. It's half again. Yeah, September is the 70.3.
September is the full.
Oh, September is the full.
Yes. So it's the whole 100.
So the next time it comes for
miles.
70.3, we'll be ready. I'm not up for. We'll be ready for that. But congratulations. It was really exciting to see the energy and to see folks out there excited about being in our city and to see our city open for business. We were in 2 restaurants throughout the weekend. And we spent quite a bit of money downtown, and it was nice to see servers and people getting some nice tips, and it felt good to see them making some money. And even though they had their masks on, you could see them smiling with their eyes. And it was great to see that much energy in our city again. And I applaud the administration for leading the way and opening us back up. And I look forward to Ironman again. Thanks.
All right. I'm not seeing any other hands at this time.
All right.
Jermaine, thank
Mr.
you
Chair.
very much.
Appreciate it.
That now brings us to our Youth and Family Development Committee, where we will be hearing about the reopening of the YFD centers and summer camp plans. So at this time, I call to order the Youth and Family Development Committee. We're not going to move. Well, go ahead, and I guess we need a motion on the minutes. We have a motion on the floor with a second. We will let the minutes stand as read. Chief,
Yes, sir.
do you have any plans for us?
I do. If you all are ready, we will go. If you have the presentation on your screens, I just want to
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Good. I'll try to dazzle you. And by the way,
I had to pay for the whole seat, but I'm just on the edge.
I would have worn a tie like I normally do, but I have to wear tennis shoes due to an ankle injury, and I just can't do that. I can't wear a tie and tennis shoes together. So,
We need to get you some triacting.
yes. You all ready? You ready to hear? All right. Adrian's going to move the slides for me back there. So the first thing we would like to talk about is the Warner Park Pool and Splash Pad. The grand reopening will be May 29th, 2021. We will have a 75% capacity. And for COVID protocols, you will see social distancing upon entry and exit, as well as social distancing in the patio area and enhanced cleaning of the patio area. Next slide. We're excited to announce that all senior centers will reopen June 1st. They will have their regular hours by location. Each location has different hours, so it'll be back to their regular hours. Capacity will be limited at each center based on indoor capacity with social distancing. We are following CDC guidelines, and masks will be required for unvaccinated adults. We are very excited to announce that we will reopen all YFD centers on June 1st with regular hours from 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. The capacity will be limited at each site based on indoor capacity with social distancing, but the smallest site would still allow for up to 30 children in the building. And the larger sites would accommodate much more. But we are following CDC guidelines with this reopening. Masks are required for unvaccinated adults, and masks are optional for all children under 18 years of age, which aligns with what we see in Hamilton County schools starting on June 1st. Next thing is the extended hours for teen programming. Beginning on June 7th, we will extend hours to 8:30 p.m. for Carver, Eastdale, South Chattanooga, and Washington Hills. These are the locations that historically have had the most teen participation. We're starting with 8:30 p.m. Because in order to get kids home by sunset, we don't want children walking home alone after dark. At this time, we will extend hours beyond 8:30 p.m. for very specific programming, and we are targeting programming for teens such as late night swims, night basketball tournaments, movie nights, those sorts of things. And then, we work with various community partners for teen programming that we will be implementing through these sites. Again, same COVID protocols are in place for these extended hours. Next slide. Next, we have summer camps that will be opening on June 7th. These are the 6 sites that required registration. These will all have 75 children per location, and this is at Avondale, Brainerd, Carver, Hickson, J.A. Patton, and South Chattanooga. And the COVID protocols will be the same for the summer camps with CDC guidelines and masks optional for children under 18 years of age. We're also excited to announce that we will open 4 additional drop-in summer camps on June 7th at Eastdale, Shepherd, Washington Hills, and West Side. So these sites don't require registration for summer camp. It's drop in on a first come, first served basis. We've done this in the past and it's been successful, and we wanted to make sure that we offer this as we have continued to add staff. With our staffing challenges around summer camp, we are essentially opening everything as much as we possibly can between June 1st and June 7th. The capacity will be limited based on the size of the site and allow for social distancing per CDC guidelines. And then lastly, we have all of our remaining pools. Carver, Brainerd, and South Chattanooga pools will reopen on June 7th at a 75% capacity. So this reopens essentially all YFD facilities throughout the city between June 1st and June 7th. And we are excited about being able to reopen these for the community. That's all I got.
We do have a hand. Councilman Hester.
Okay, Chief, you indicated that June the 1st, the center is going to open at 10 a.m. Why do you guys choose 10 as opposed to 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning?
Jason, do you want to help with that? I believe it's based on historical practice to have them open when they were used the most. But I mean, yeah, I'll let Jason can hang out up here in case we need help. But that's based on historical practice and when they are used the most across the city.
Okay.
And then the summer camps, typically, just for reference, typically all YFD centers for the past several summers, like 7 or 8 summers, have been closed the week of June 1st for training for summer camp. So this will be the first year that we've actually opened YFD centers the first week of June. They're typically closed for training for summer camp. So we will have them open, and then the sites that have summer camps will shift to the 7:30 a.m. hours.
You good, sir?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Dotley.
Are there still any staffing issues that you have? Are you still hiring for those positions?
Yes, I mean, we will hire individuals for summer camps as much as possible. We have some other YFD vacancies that are always, as we always do over the course of the year. But yeah, the more we can hire for summer camps, the more we can open. Yeah, right. I mean, the position's currently closed until we get all of these sites that we've announced settled and everyone in place, and then we can look at reopening when we go to look at opening other sites. One issue we do have with summer staffing is, it is seasonal staffing, and sometimes we have employees that start and don't come back the next day, or, don't come back 2 days later. It is temporary staffing. So, we need to make sure that we get everyone in place, get all these sites opened finally after 14 months, get summer camps running, and then we can evaluate adding the additional staff to keep opening drop-in sites.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chief, and Jason, for all your work with making sure that our sites are being opened safely. I do appreciate you listening to the community, as we heard last week, that how important our YFD sites are. And we still want to provide, a great community asset open to the community, and still be safe and follow our guidelines. So I really appreciate that. And I think that the community will be appreciative of it as well. And I do like the extension of the YFD sites during those times, the highest need that has team participation, because we need to provide a safe space and, program it in an interest that would attract our teenagers, so we can keep them off the street and give them a safe place. We may not, reach every teen, but those that want to come, that's the important part, that we're at least willing to start that conversation around it. And also, I would just like to add to, I'm not sure if you all have talked to the school system or not, but I just want to stress to the community how important it is to enroll your kids in the REACH program, because this past year and a half, it got our kids behind. A lot of kids struggled, and, we did offer what we can, which was space to allow them to be able to tap into their schoolwork and try to catch up. But it just, we missed the bucket on a lot of kids. And this opportunity, they're providing transportation, food, snacks, and, they're there from even after hours time. And, we have championed the fight of how important that education is. And I want to make sure that I'm stressing that too. Like, I can't say it enough. Our YFD sites are here, I believe, as a catalyst to help after that portion of it, in our state. And, the state has even said, hey, they're requiring the schools to make sure that they're offering, and, those words can be tricky with mandating, requiring, and recommending. But I think, for parents, like, we're failing them if we're not expressing or sharing the opportunities that's before them that can help their kids educationally. We're providing recreation service and a safe haven for kids to do that. So I think if we both working together, then we can kind of address everything in a holistic way. But again, thank you. I appreciate you, all the work that you guys done. I know you heard my mouth over and over, time and time again. Thank you for being that shoulder to listen on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Coonrod. We appreciate your support and for pushing us to make sure we get all these sites open and representing the community. We heard it loud and clear, and we're glad we're able to open these sites. And yes, I also agree. We encourage anyone to take advantage of the REACH program in Hamilton County Schools. It's a great program. We had a great meeting today with Dr. Brian Johnson and Dr. Nakia Towns, and I think we will have some really exciting things to announce in terms of partnerships with the school district in the near future. And we definitely talked about that continuum from summer programming in the schools to summer programming in the YFD center. So that's definitely a partnership that we can strengthen, and it'll benefit the community as a whole.
Councilman Hester.
I want to echo sentiments of Councilwoman Coonrod. I want to thank you guys for your guys' effort. But what type of programs do you have in place for the summer during these camps?
Jason, that's all Jason. That's way out of my lane.
It varies from location to location. Our facility managers are in charge of their specific programs. What we do is we usually layer on top of it like departmental wide programs. Most of those programs have historically been to travel around the city, to go swim, to go to Booker T. But with all the restrictions this year, we dialed that down, and now we're just trying to get kind of the array of programs into the centers. So we'll have a sports group from our department that will go to center and do sports programming. They'll come in, get all the kids outside, and they'll do anywhere from volleyball to basketball to kickball, just doing events like that. If they're specific to where there's a pool at, there'll be swimming. We'll have programs, Medal of Honors coming in and doing programs for us. We're layering. There's a dance class coming into different places. We've got, there's really just a variety of things. Get Active comes in and does a lot of soccer programming. And then there's just like normal camp activities. That's probably predominantly what you would expect from a camp, is just simplistic programs, but there's still something to be engaging, active, getting the kids outside and doing things in small cohorts, because now this year we have to really remain in our cohorts and move around. That's usually what we do on June 1st, is we bring in all the college students, all the students that are our typical summer camp counselors, and give them tools and resources and train them what programs to do in the center. So the simple answer is it's a wide range of things, but it's really the facility managers are ones that are core aspect in developing what they're going to do and how they rotate day to day.
Okay.
And there's also a food program that we will have as well.
You good, sir?
I'm good. Thank you.
One thing I'll add, Mr. Chairman, is that as CDC guidelines shift throughout the summer, we will also be shifting, and we will also shift the programming as much as we can along with changes to CDC guidelines. So, for example, if a month from now it's easier for us in accordance with CDC guidelines to do some of the travel or move to different locations around town, we will start offering that again if we're able to.
Okay. Councilman Byrd?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Brent, Chief, how do you think the narrative got put out, in a sense? Because the things I was receiving, like, we didn't want to open the centers. I know we was coming off COVID, and I don't know how far we was behind when it comes to the rest of the world, but COVID was very serious, and my daughter goes to Westview, and the school had to shut down because like 20 kids ended up with COVID. And so she couldn't go to school for a while. And my baby has asthma, so that could have been very dangerous. And I just want to know, like, do you have any idea of where the narrative came? Because it's like when we was getting talked to the other day, it was like, you have to open the centers. It's like it was something out there that we didn't want to open the centers, or we wasn't going to open the centers. And then we had an administration change. So
Yeah, I'm not real sure. I think there's a few contributing factors. I mean, we started looking at reopening facilities first day we got here, and that's evidenced by the changes in Mayor Kelly's executive orders since day one, right? We've reopened something every single week since Mayor Kelly's been in office. We wanted to make sure we did it safely, and then we did it with a good plan and with adequate staff. And that's what the YFD leadership has been working really hard to make sure we get everything in place. We have the staff that we're able to reopen. We're bringing people back to work who have not been in buildings for 14 months. So that alone is a huge change, right? I mean, we're changing the way people have been living their lives for 14 months as employees, and now putting them back into the environment. They have to, these employees have to hit go immediately, right? And it's, even though they've had plenty of time to, and a lot of these employees are very experienced and can do things, off the cuff. It still takes planning when you got to make sure you have engaging activities for kids, right? I think part of it is because school's about to let out, so it's timing. I think there's a lot of parents and community members who depend on the centers to be open, and now that school is quickly approaching the end of the school year, it was on people's minds more than it might have been 2 weeks ago. So I think it's a lot of different factors, but we've wanted to open everything as much as we can in a safe manner. And I think, our executive actions have reflected this.
I think so as well. And I think that opening the centers correctly, because if you have the wrong people in the centers or the wrong leadership in place, things can get really out of hand very quickly. So I do commend you guys for that. And
one other thing I'll mention too, because Dr. Mary Lambert is here, and she started yesterday. Our community health director, we're very fortunate to have Dr. Lambert here, and we wanted to make sure that she was able to get on board and help us look at all of these plans to make sure we are doing it safely and that we are following guidelines. So, that was also a piece of us that's why we couldn't just announce things, a couple weeks ago. We really needed to go through the plan to make sure we had it right.
And if you can, last thing, first to, like Kumar said, the parents, I mean, please get your kids to these centers. I have some centers that I know around my neighborhood, how we're fussing that they need to be open. And I can go in there any time of day and it's 3 kids or 4 kids in there. So please get your kids to these centers. And so they can be packed or at capacity, or we might even have to build a new center because it's just so many kids that can't get in. I think that would be awesome. But I definitely want you to take a good look at Carver Center. And we'll have a conversation offline about that. I have some issues with that center just over the years that I've been in office. And we really need some good leadership at that center. So Jason, I talked to him as well, but I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair, again. And when I think about camp, we were outside, you're outside the entire time. You're not just confined to the inside of a building. That's what camp looked like to me. Like you're outside building fires, roasting marshmallows, you're canoeing, you may be rock climbing, you may, get experience archery or all of those kind of things. And our kids traditionally just don't get introduced to that. And we have, the great outdoors. And, I think like that's maybe something we should look into, like how we can introduce them to something else that they don't get to experience year round when they're attending our YFD sites. And I think sports are great for the kids that gravitate to sports. But what about the kids that's not into sports? What are they going to do? What programming do we have to provide them to activate their creative side, enhance their cognitive skills, or, strengthen their critical thinking, or, what's available for them? Are there any anything that's art related for those kids other than dancing? I mean, I love to dance, but you just have kids that need to be tapped into in other ways outside of sports. Like, do we have anything on the roster for those kids?
There will be arts programming at different sites, but it's different by site based on what the facility manager has decided, for that site. I will note that outdoor programming is something that you will see us take a focus on, especially as we go through restructuring and reorganizing government and how we plan to utilize the outdoors and provide access to the outdoors to everyone in the community, no matter what zip code. So that is something definitely look forward to in the coming months. And, my vision would be, and our vision as administration would be, next year when we roll around to summer camp and it's a normal summer, we will have activities at every center in the outdoors that we've never been able to offer before, because we are going to create a whole different ecosystem around outdoors for youth.
Thank you for that.
And we usually do that. This year is just a strange year. And we'll have as many outdoor activities as possible. We also have to plan for inclement weather and when kids are going to have to be indoors. And that's where the CDC guidelines come into play much stronger, right, than outdoors. But we will have outdoor activities at the summer camps as much as possible. There's just some limitations this year on what we're going to be able to provide in terms of normal programming.
Well, thank you again. And I just, Councilman Byrd, like he made a statement, but I just, if there's any other site workers on here online, like I really want you to know that I value you, because I've said it time and time again. You're the first point of contact when you're dealing with a lot of the kids and when they're, experiencing different troubles in their life, and the parents go directly to them seeking advice on how, they can manage their kids, in different ways like that. So I value you. And I know that Carver Center, that's a hard site, because you're talking about a location that's dealing with all type of people, and you have probably every gang affiliation that migrates to that site. But I think the most important thing is that the site directors that I've seen at that location, they've built a relationship with them. they're able to kind of keep the calm. And most of the time it's other people that doesn't participate at that site that come and may cause the drama a lot of times. But I think this is a start. Again, thank you. I do understand and recognize that there's a lot that needs to be done, a lot of work with our YFD sites. And I do see the work that you guys are doing and further on what will probably change or, be a different director. But I don't want our staff to get, infuriated and feel as if that by Councilman Burr's statement that we're against them or we feel like they should be removed from the site or we don't know, none of that. That's not my intention. And I'm sure that's not Burr's as well. We just want to make sure that we have people that's involved at our sites that really care about our people and want to actually serve the community. Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Hill.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to agree with Councilwoman Coonrod about the quality of the programming at our sites. These are our city's children. And if we're going to invest in youth programs, I do think it's important that they be thoughtfully designed and planned, that children are able to be children and have a fun, joyful experience at our YFD centers. I'm glad you brought up art, Councilwoman, because that stood out to me. And I know we have a lot of community partners that are always eager to be engaged, and I'm sure you all have that. I'm going to plan to visit several of the sites this summer so that I can be part of a more constructive conversation next year. Thanks.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other hands at this time. Jason, about 3 years ago, we started a little roundtable with the school system, and I know probably through COVID, we haven't been able to. We're going to continue having roundtable discussions with the school system.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Concerning
they're an integral
summer
part.
camps.
Yeah, they're an integral part of what we do around all year long. Part of those roundtables is what led to us being partners with the virtual learning centers that we did throughout most of the school year, where we opened up 5 of our locations for the programming for the school district and help them out. We were instrumental in trying to figure out ways to do this, to do partnerships with the REACH program. We weren't able to go into the school systems and be there after school care like some other locations, other sites were, because we're trying to figure out how we can open up our centers as a backup plan for some of them that weren't able to get into REACH. But all this is just through constant communication, constantly talking with the school system and with partners there. So yes, absolutely.
I just want to make sure that continues, because I do think that's critical that we remain in close communication with the school system. And also we had some discussion, I guess it's probably 2 years ago, about Creative Discovery Museum being able to take kids during summer camp. And you mentioned travel. I'm assuming right now we really can't transport them to the Creative Discovery Museum, but I do think we need to take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, what we've put our focus in with Creative Discovery Museum is that they're closing down a lot of their different areas as they do their total remodel that they're starting up this next year. So some of their programs that they were historically having on site now are going to move into our locations while they're doing the remodels. So that's kind of been our connection with Creative Discovery Museum now.
All right, good. All right, any other questions for the chief or Jason? All right, I think we're good. I'm not seeing any other hands. All right, that concludes this portion of our YFD committee. So we will adjourn the YFD committee and ask if there's anything else that needs to come before the council at this time. If not, we are adjourned until 6 o'clock.